Good morning, students. My name is Taite Shikongo, your tutor for Certificate in Policing Investigation of Crime 1B. I'm going to take you through the examination-based conduct. The scope of the examination conduct class. We'll start with the introduction, aims of the conduct class, structure, examination paper and assessment, course outline and the scope, and then conclusion. A short introduction, Taite Shikongo, qualifications, a BTech degree forensic investigation, a certificate in forensic audit, fingerprint expert, and attend various specialized training courses. The aims of the conduct class is the preparation for August 2017 examination based, possible changes to do well, provide a framework for presentation, continuous assessment, calculation of marks, the question paper structure, mark allocation, questions level of difficulty, verbs level. The final pass mark for 50% is required, calculated by 60% of the examination mark and 40% of the continuous assessment mark. A sub-minimum of 50% must be attained in the examination. For example, suppose assignment continues, assessment mark is 50, examination mark is 50 also, which is 50% of 50, 40% of 50 equals to 20%, 60% of 50 equals to 30%, then the final marks is 50%. The setting and marking of the examination papers are moderated. That is the structure of the examination paper. The structure of examination paper consists in 4 questions. Question 1, 60 marks. Question 2, 36 marks. Question 3, 12 mark. Question 4, 12 mark. Or now let's go through the scope. The nature and the investigation of property crimes. Theft is a continuous offense, means that the crime theft continues to be committed as long as the property remains in the possession of the thief. Consequences of this is that any court in whose area of jurisdiction a thief is caught with a stolen property in his or her possession can hear the matter. Technically, no accessories after the fact in cases of theft, since any assistance to conceal the property after the initial appropriation will stand amount of theft. Key requirements: theft importance, discussion of each requirement with examples. The act of appropriation in respect of a certain kind of property committed unlawfully, intentionally. State versus Dlamini, 1984, subparagraph 3. In a self-service shop, the accused, who had no money on him, by a still healthy, concealed a shirt under his jacket, securing it with his arm. He was apprehended by a security officer before he reached the till. Shoplifting amounts to theft analysis is to investigate. The General Theft Investigation Guidelines: visit the crime scene, interview the complainant, ascertain how the theft was committed. It should be ascertained if anything belongs to criminals, such as notes, caps, handkerchiefs, and etc. had been left behind. Determine the time and date committed discovered. Obtain a description of the stolen property. The definition. There's a confusion with elements and essential of theft under false pretense. The definition. A person commits theft by false pretense if he or she unlawfully, intentionally obtains a movable corporeal property belonging to another with the consent of the person from whom he or she obtained it, such consent being given as a result of misrepresentation by the person committing the crime and appropriates it. Definition of theft. Confusion of elements and essential of theft under false pretense. The elements of crimes are: number 1, a misrepresentation, actual prejudice, a causal link between the misrepresentation and the prejudice, an appropriate of property, unlawfulness, and intention. Essential of theft under false pretense continue. The false representation must be an existing fact. The person making the representation must do so with knowledge of its falsity, that it is made with the intent that it should be acted upon by another to his prejudice. A false pretense may be made not only by words, it could be spoken or written, but by conduct. The representation must be false to the knowledge of the person making it. A mere promise as to future conduct will not be sufficient to justify a charge of false pretense. The relationship between theft under false pretense and fraud. All cases of theft under false pretense are at the same time also fraud. According to Sneyman 2002, page 533, the crime of fraud is complete the moment misrepresentation has come to the notice of the representee. For theft by false pretense to be complete, it is further required that the misrepresentation be followed by handing over a property to X and her appropriation of it. In cases of theft under false pretense, 2 crimes are committed, namely fraud and theft. In the book of Job, 2011, page 141, is of the opinion that although all cases of theft by false pretenses will be fraud also, all fraud cases will necessarily not comply with the definition of theft by false pretense, since appropriation is not an element of fraud. Removal of property for use. Unauthorized borrowing. It is not theft to remove property with the intention of using it temporarily and then return it to its owner. Theft, according to Joburg, 2011, page 142, requires an intention to permanently deprive the owner of the property. Section 1, subparagraph 1 of the General Law Amendment Act of 1956 created another offense and states, the property must be removed with the intent to use it. It is if a person takes the property as a pledge, in other words, not to use it but merely to retain it as security until his debt is paid, that person will not committed the offense. The property must also be removed from the control of the owner or the person having control of it. In the book of Joburg, year 2011, page 142. If a person has already control of the property when he or she decides to use it without consent, he/she does not contravene Section 1, subsection 1, State versus R versus Duyua, year 1961, subparagraph 3, South Africa Law 644. Readers was found guilty of Section 1, subsection 1. The appeal court held that the police official only had control of the vehicle as a restricted administration capacity. Receiving stolen property. Receiving stolen property is the unlawful receipt of stolen goods, knowing it to be stolen. Section 57, subsection 1A of the General Law Amendment Act 1915 provides that a person who acquires or receives stolen goods from any person otherwise than a public sale without having reasonable cause at the time for believing that the goods are the property of the person or such person has been duly authorized by the other to deal with or dispose of such goods commits an offense. Receiving stolen property knowing it is stolen. According to Joburg, year 2011, page 147, the crime is committed when a person unlawfully and intentionally receives into his or her possession stolen property while he/she knows that it is stolen. A common form of this offense is receiving of stolen motor vehicles, motor vehicle parts or stolen copper cables, knowing that these items were stolen. Possession of suspected stolen property. According to Section 36 of the General Law Amendment Act 1955, any person found in possession of goods in circumstances in which there is a reasonable suspicion that they have been stolen and who is unable to give a satisfactory account of his or her possession will be committing an offense. According to Joburg, year 2011, page 143, goods that may be possessed for the purpose of this section refer to any movable property capable of being stolen, excluding stock or produce as defined in the Stock Theft Act. Investigation of receiving stolen property. All statements should be under oath. During the arrest and the seizure of the goods, Section 20, Section 22, Section 23, Section 29, and Section 30 of the Criminal Procedure Act must be kept in mind and applied. In his statement, the person affecting the arrest and seize the property must give a proper description of the goods, stipulate clearly where the goods were found, stipulate exactly what the reason for his or her suspicion was, and the time and the date the goods were found. Investigation of receiving of stolen property. The nature, quality, and the quantity of the articles found in possession of the accused will be material factor in relation to the reasonableness or otherwise of a suspicion that the articles were stolen. The person affecting the arrest must state clearly what the reason for his or her belief is for believing the goods are stolen. Make inquiries in the vicinity for possible public sale and inquire if the goods were brought there. Receiving stolen property. The state has to prove the following for a conviction in terms of Section 37, subsection 1. A. Goods were acquired other than a public sale. B. The accused received the goods into his or her possession. C. The goods were stolen. The state must prove beyond reasonable doubt that the goods were stolen and obtained at a public sale. Stolen property and damage to property. Definition of damage to property. The offense consists of unlawfully and intentional damage to property belong to another or damage the one owns insured property with the intention of claiming the value of the insurer. Examination of crimes against person. We have rape, indecent assault, and criminal injuria. Definition of rape. Rape consists in a male having unlawful and intentional sexual intercourse with a female without her consent. What are the elements? The elements of rape: a sexual intercourse between a male and a female without the woman's consent. It should be unlawfulness and intention. Indecent assault. Definition of indecent assault. Indecent assault consists in unlawful and intentional assaulting, touching or handling another in circumstances in which either the act itself or the intention with which it is committed is indecent. The element of indecent assault: an act of either assaulting, touching, or otherwise handling another Either the act or Mrs. X intention must be unlawful and intention. Crimen injuria. Definition. Crimen injuria consists in the unlawful, intentional, and serious violation of dignity or privacy of another. Elements. The elements of the crime of crimen injuria. The infringement of the dignity or privacy of another, which is serious, unlawfulness, and intentional. Now, investigation of crimes against the person. Different types of assault: compelled sexual assault, sexual assault, and common assault. In conclusion, the framework of exam, the investigation requires that you know and understand all concepts, techniques. One fact must mark allocations, number your facts, make use of bullet points, avoid dumping relevant, irrelevant facts simultaneously, marker searching for the correct answer, follow the instruction closely, use your best handwriting, and I wish you all the best with your preparation for the exams. My contact details: cell phone number 081 2488 499. My email address tateshikongo@yahoo.com. Thank you.